Cheers, everybody. We are back for another edition of Bourbon on a Budget. Myself, TJ Pittenger, Brendan Sonone, and Ben Cock. It's Derby week, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm sorry. Did I say something funny, Ben?
Doing great.
I'm making a blend right now, and this is organic. This is happening all in front of our listeners and viewers' faces right now.
And ears. If they're not tuned in watching. I should have started off with "and they're off." Like I kind of missed.
The Kentucky Derby.
It is Derby week.
They're off.
That could not have been any better. So we are talking about Woodford Reserve this week. The Woodford Reserve Distillery, because it is Derby week. The history of Woodford Reserve and the Kentucky Derby. Is anybody else? Am I the only one doing this? Anybody else drinking a mint julep tonight? Am I the only one on
Cheers,
this game?
baby. Mint julep.
Let's go.
I don't do mint julep after a certain experience that we'll get into at Churchill Downs. So, yeah.
I got my garnish and everything. Look, I got this. I can't wait to talk about this in the pursuits and purchases. But if you Google Kentucky Derby, Woodford Reserve mint julep, this is the glass. So anyway, feel super fancy with this. But cheers to you guys. That's what we're drinking today. What are you drinking, Brendan?
So I just spoiler alert, going to go through the Woodford Reserve line because it is Kentucky Derby Day. I just spread all of them into one glass. So this is 5 different bourbons, one glass. It's a mixture. We'll get into all of them. I have to say, the initial nose here is pretty spectacular. I'm very excited about this.
A suicide as kids.
Yeah, when you'd go up to the Coke machine.
The soda machine, yes. I used to always do mine at a Boston Market, which is that was the place to do that.
Boston.
It's very random. Random restaurants with Brendan. So we are excited to be with you guys. Hey, if you're watching this right now, if you're listening, if you could give us a thumbs up on YouTube or subscribe on iTunes, maybe hit the 5-star review. We really like those. And then interact with us on social media. We're having a good time. The only person that you guys really seem to care about on social media is Ben, which is cool. But we really enjoy the social media interaction. And, you can follow us everywhere, Bourbon on a Budget, and Ben will answer your questions. He's the least social media person, the least tech-savvy social media person on here, and all anybody wants to do is talk to Ben. So
this has completely changed in the last 10 minutes since this happened. TJ's mood has gone from happy-go-lucky to a little embittered. Yeah, a little embittered.
Definitely. I spent years on this stupid social media game, and Ben pops up in like a month and a half, and the people love him more. So yeah,
you're trying too hard. Ben just doesn't care about it, and he's new. And you know what? Yeah, give it time, buddy. And eventually, Ben will be all new. So he'll be circling back to Old Faithful. That's you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't want to talk about that anymore. It's very upsetting to me. Let's jump into the Derby. Derby will be this Saturday, May 1st. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. The first, obviously, of 3 races of the Triple Crown. And sponsored and brought to you by Woodford Reserve. So Woodford Reserve's partnership with the Derby has gone for several years. I was telling you guys about something else off the show, but did you know that Woodford Reserve replaced YUM, as the presenting sponsor of the U.S. horse race in 2018? So Woodford Reserve replaced Yum Brands, which is the parent company of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, and was the first ever presenting sponsor of the Thoroughbred horse race. Woodford Reserve, though, has had a partnership and a relationship with the Derby for several years. They have, for 21 years now, released a bottle that is specific to the Kentucky Derby. They released their 21st bottle of it this year. Their 22nd bottle of it this year for the 147th running of the Kentucky Derby. So there has been a partnership for the last 20 or so plus years. But if you want to know why Woodford Reserve is the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby, it's because they've paid the most. 5 years ago, it was sponsored by, and the official mint julep was made with Brown-Forman's Old Forester. So if you want this big grand story of why the Kentucky Derby is brought to you by Woodford Reserve, It's just because they pony up. No pun intended.
Is that how sponsorships usually work? Like, if you pay?
Well, here's what I was thinking. Oldest horse race. Like, I was thinking that maybe there was like some kind of long-standing cool relationship that happened where Woodford had been around for 147 runnings of this race, right? Like maybe the master distiller back then had a horse. They let him in the race. I don't know. Like I was hoping there was a cool story behind it. It wasn't. It's just marketing and like everything else, like bourbon and everything else that we do. It just, they pay the most money for it. So
poor, sweet, naive TJ.
Yeah. Ben, what do you think about your Mint Julep? Have you had any yet?
Yeah, it's really good. It's a little watered down. I made a little bit earlier.
It's been opening up for 6 hours. Brendan, speaking of Mint Juleps, while I go into taste mine so I can tell people about how great my bartending skills are, tell us about your, because it's Derby week.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Mint Julep issues.
So, Mint Julep. So Mint Julep, for people that don't know, is a mixed drink. It's got mint in it, right? And it's got bourbon. Does it have anything else in it, TJ, other than ice?
Simple syrup or
simple syrup.
sugar.
So, okay. So, very sweet. I think this is an important part of the story. This was in 2016. So, I guess Woodford was not being served at Churchill Downs, but I went up to cover an FSU football game. It was my first year at 24/7 Sports. And so my first road trip with Christopher Nee. We roomed together. We went up. We drove up together. It was a hellish ride there, even worse back. A long trip from Tallahassee to Louisville. Anyways, we get there on Friday. We say we're going to blow off some steam. Our hotel is in walking distance to Churchill Downs. So we go to Churchill Downs. Watch some races on a Friday afternoon. I'm not really into bourbon all that much at this point in my life. It's kind of a miracle that I'm into it now, given this experience. I went a little heavy on the Mint Juleps at Churchill Downs. I probably like 4 or 5 of them in like maybe 3 or 4 hours. So they're not like a crazy amount, but definitely a high-end amount. The issue that I had, fellas, was that later then we went to a pizza restaurant and I switched to Miller Lite and then went back to bourbon. And the story ends the next day with Chris Nee having to jump the curve on the way to the Louisville game with me throwing up outside the stadium there. So
sounds like quite the experience.
Yeah, just be careful, kids. That those Mint Juleps will sneak up on you because of the sugar or the syrup that TJ mentioned. The body's going to metabolize that a little differently. So be careful.
Well, what I will say about the Mint Julep, and we'll talk about this official cup that I have here in a moment. And I hope you guys like my garnish for those that are watching and can see that. What I will say about this is we did the water, ice, and neat episode a few weeks ago. It's super easy to drink because it's freezing cold. The cup is
hence the issue with the 2016 trip. Very easy to drink.
Very easy to drink. Got that little splash. I didn't do much, but I did a splash of simple syrup that, again, cuts it down a tad more. And then the mint is super refreshing. Like, I'm sitting here kind of thirsty and drinking this a little too quickly because the mint is really, really refreshing. So, but it's enjoyable.
Did you muddle it? Sorry, did you muddle the mint or did you like what you did?
I did. Check it out. Like I beat the heck out of it.
All right.
$4.98 at Publix today. So yeah, and I have some good ice. I don't have like the shaved ice like that you really have because like we don't make that kind of money in this Pittenger house here. But I did get some ice from Publix today so that it wasn't just like my crappy fridge ice. So anyway, yeah, it's good. It's a good drink. I could see on a hot summer's day, 1st of May, I could see down in quite a few of these because they're pretty refreshing. So anyway, well, that's sad to hear about Brendan's experience. Hopefully my experience tonight is nothing like that. Let's talk about Woodford Reserve, though. We talked about the Derby a little bit. We talked about Mint Juleps. Let's talk. It's kind of a distillery series here that we're on. So let's talk about Woodford Reserve a little bit. Brendan, you starting us off here?
Yeah, I'll just do some of the history really quickly of Woodford Reserve Distillery. I actually got to go to it in 2018. I was more responsible on this trip up. You know, you get a little bit older and whatnot. It's a really cool distillery tour. You only get to sample the Woodford Reserve and the Woodford Double Oaked at the end. So not as like in-depth as other ones, but it's a beautiful premises. It's actually, I'll get into this, but it's a natural historic land site. That's how it's registered as such. So it's been around a while. It's got a little history. So the Woodford Reserve Distillery is located in Woodford County, Kentucky. Woodford County. It's owned by Brown-Forman. That's the same people who do Old Forester. The site of the Woodford Reserve Distillery has been around since the 1800s. It hasn't been continually operating from that entire standpoint, but I think since like 1838, it's been around and up and moving. So a good chunk of time. And like I said, it is registered as a National Historic Landmark. It was also known as the Old Oscar Pepper Distillery. So Pepper, if you can actually see above me, there's a rebranding of James E. Pepper Rye. I think that they're related to the Peppers. Is kind of a big name in bourbon in Kentucky. Later, it was the Labor and Graham Distillery. Brown-Forman purchased this back in 1941. It operated it until the 1960s, sold the property, and it's located like in horse country. It's really pretty. It sold all this acreage to a local farmer, brought it back and repurchased it back in 1993, refurbished it, and turned it into the Woodford Reserve brand back in, 1996. So became Woodford Reserve in 1996, has been there since. That's all I have. That's the history of Woodford Reserve. Did you want more?
No, I think that's good. Before we get into too much more, I want to show you guys this. What are you guys drinking out of? Because we've got a little Woodford Reserve lineup. What are you guys drinking out of?
Can I show you mine? It's a.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Mine's bigger.
It's inappropriate. Bourbon on a budget, Glencairn. How about that? I got a bunch of them at my house now, and I'm super stoked.
Go.
Me having 6 Glencairns at the house, plus the other 2 I already had, probably not great, but what are you going to do?
So we have a bourbon on a budget, Glencairn, for you guys to go check out. We have a deal going on right now. If you go to big3rollup.com, that's big, the number 3 rollup.com. Right on the front page, you'll see merchandise. There are our Glencairn glasses. We have a deal going right now. They're one for they're $20 each. You got to buy 2 though, because shipping is not cost effective if you only buy 1. Plus, you shouldn't be drinking alone. You should be sharing with a friend. If you buy 2, it's $40. If you buy 4, it's $80, but we give you 2 more for free. So you get 6 total. Every glass you get an entry into win a bottle of Stag Junior. So kind of fun. Big3rollup.com. Right on the front page again is the merchandise, and you will see our Glencairn glasses. You can pay through PayPal, Apple Pay. You can put a credit card in, whatever you want. They are $20 each. Again, minimum 2, and you get 2 for free if you buy 4. So you get the whole set at 6 if you buy 4.
Real quick, we've done an episode on different drinking glasses and whatnot. We obviously want you guys to purchase, the bourbon on a budget Glencairns, but if you're getting into bourbon, if you're getting into whiskey at all, any type, Glencairn's the way to go. So we want you to be ours, but even if it's not, Glencairn, highly recommended because you're able to get more. It helps eliminate some of the alcohol burn. You're able to actually get inside and get some of these flavors in the glass. So Glencairn, the way to go. But if you're going to buy one, make it bourbon on a budget.
I will say, ours are a little bit pricey. I'm not really hiding behind that, but they're expensive to engrave. So we're kind of just passing that on to you guys so that you can help cover.
They're cool looking, man. I like them. They're snazzy. They're nice. Makes my bourbon taste better.
Ben definitely thought so. Ben's on mute and he keeps trying to butt in, but that's not happening. So Ben definitely thought so when he was like rating Old Tub like a 9 out of 10. He's like, "Oh, this Glencairn, it's amazing. Old Tub, it's better than George."
It wasn't a 9 out of 10. Relax.
It's like 9.2. So we are going to get into some different tastings, and now I've mixed up my glasses, so I'm going to do some stuff around here.
Good luck.
Ben, take us through a quick lineup of the Woodford Reserve
lineup.
That too. Yeah.
I knew as soon as he started lineup, I
didn't know where that word was.
Nowhere to go.
You go in lineup, double lineup.
Okay, just talking, words come out.
Yeah. Tonight we got 5 whiskeys that we're gonna be trying. We're gonna start off number 1, OG Woodford Reserve, debuted in 1996. Actually, all of these bourbons or these whiskeys we're going to talk about tonight are all 90.4 proof. And so then, with the Woodford, it has aged 6-7 years. It's a high rye mash bill. So it's 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. Then in 2012, they debuted Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. And what they did is they took the same mash bill from the original Woodford, and then they brought in a second barreling process, which involved a highly toasted and then charred new oak barrel, and they rebarreled it for 9 months. So it could have been one of the more early releases of like a toasted barrel finish, which is pretty cool. In 2015, they came out with a straight rye whiskey, meaning it was about 50% rye and then a little less on the barley and corn. And then the last three that we're going to talk about are all about 50%, whatever it is, and then a mix of the other two. Then they came out with a malted barley whiskey. So it's not a bourbon. This is a malted whiskey in 2018. And then in 2020, they came out with a wheated whiskey, which is actually a 4-grain whiskey, which is a lot of the trend right now. So it has all of the grains. So it's corn, rye, malted barley, and wheat. So it'd be a little bit more than 50% wheat. And that's most of the stuff that is in their highly available line. The wheated is a little more hard to find than these other whiskeys, just because I think it's a newer product. But they're all pretty much available in stores, so go grab one.
They're easy to find. Nothing's very difficult to find. Sometimes you can find really good deals on things. I have a liter of the double oaked that Ben got for me at Costco. I think this was $61 if I remember correctly. And it's typically like 56, 57 for a 750. So a couple bucks more for a full liter at Costco. We've talked about Costco having some pretty good liquor deals if you can get in there and shop around there from time to time. So what we're going to do now, we're not doing a full King of the Hill. We're going to put that segment on pause. We started that last week. Old Forester 1920 knocked off the first challenger, which was Old Forester 100. Not necessarily a full, a fair fight. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, as the kids say these days. I didn't know if you're allowed to say that anymore. So
I don't think the kids say that. It was like a 1 versus. I wouldn't say 16. That's not fair. Going back to the NCAA tournament, like a 1 versus 8, maybe.
Yeah, 1 versus 8, 1 versus 9. Like that second matchup where you know you've got a shot, but you got to like bring your absolute A game, and the A game was not brought. The D game was brought.
Ben goes like he was grasping it. Yeah,
yeah, he had a clue. But anyway, super easy to find. But we're not doing King of the Hill. We're putting that on pause. Old Forester 1920 will be back next week to defend its spot as our King of the Hill. But what we are going to do is we're going to talk about drinking a mint julep and then drinking 5 different bourbons and then reviewing something else in a minute. We're going to taste all 5 of the things in their line. I almost said lineups in their lineup. We're going to taste all 5 of the things in their regular lineup. And we're just gonna put them in an order, right? Like
chronological 1 through 5, whatever. Right.
We're gonna put them in a line.
Yeah, right. We're gonna line them up.
We're gonna line them up in a
lineup of.
We're gonna line up our opinions on these. I don't think it's chronological though. I don't think you'd say that. Like chronological has to do with time, not rating.
Okay, Mr. Lineup, just get going with this.
You literally get paid to write for a living. I don't. For those that can't see, he's doing the what do you call it? The thing. He's doing the thing where you
old
wave
man hand wave.
All right. So start off with regular Woodford Reserve. Let's jump into that first. Some quick thoughts, and then we'll move on. Ben, you could pick the second one that we drink, but I'm picking the OG here, the regular Woodford Reserve. MSRP $30, 90.4 proof that we talked about.
Yeah. Straightforward. Average.
Very average is what you're going with, right?
It's bourbon. Like this is just quintessential bourbon. Think about Ben, real quick. Three flavors that you think of when you think of bourbon. Name them real quick off the top of your head. Don't think.
Vanilla, oak, honey.
Okay, well, this hits all 3 of those. Cherry is what I would go with too with bourbon typically, and a little bit of cherry, but vanilla, oak, honey are probably the 3 big flavors in this one.
Yeah, really good. What's next, Ben? Where are we going after Woodford?
Ooh. My baby, the rye.
Ooh.
Look
at this. So this is a 0.375. I got an ABC. It was holding up. So the little guy. I've done some work on this in like 2 weeks. This was after the rye episode where you guys got me kind of into the rye with the High West one. This is a far lower rye mash bill, as Ben said, 51. Isn't it awesome? I got that 0.375 on clearance for $12. So I can get 2 of them. That's like a $24 bottle of rye.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I think the low rye on this, like the low rye mash bill, for me, who's someone kind of new into rye, makes it really accessible. But like the vanilla notes on this come out with that like that rye crispiness.
Mint, there's some mint in there as well. Right. And my palate is like looking for mint right now because I just had that mint julep. But it's also kind of tough to drink some of these great bourbons right now because I just had an icy, sweet, minty, easy to drink. And I'm going back to bourbon. So the regular Woodford wasn't anything like I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But this rye is really good. Like I've got the whole lineup here. Like I'm looking at every single bottle except for the rye that Brendan gave me the sample. I think I'm probably going to go get the rye now. Like
the
rye
is
solid.
The rye is really good.
Way better.
And what would that be? $30 normal for a regular 0.75, right? So about the same as the other. So, I mean, you guys know about more.
Same money I'm buying the rye all day.
Right. And so you guys know about rye more than I do. $30 for a good bottle of standard rye. Like that seems about on point. Yeah, that's good.
It seems right in the same wheelhouse as we did double rye a couple of weeks ago. Really, really good rye. I'd put it up against that. I'd put it right there with the regular Michter's rye, although Michter's rye is going to be a tad more expensive. It's going to be like $42 to $43. It's right there with Ben and I love the Baby Sazerac rye, which is really tough to get and find, but it's right in there with that category. So like of your really good ryes that we like, and maybe that's a good, like maybe those 4 would be a really, really good, like, tournament. Remember we did the tournament for March Madness and we had like a really heavyweight and then a really low down old tub. And we kind of knew that EHD was probably going to win. Those would be 4 pretty comparable ryes but anyway, I put this in that category. Like it's just as good as those,
And can't forget Old Forester Hunter rye either.
And TJ, have you tried the Elijah Craig rye? I asked because both of those are low rye ryes.
I haven't opened. Okay. Haven't opened it. I got
the Elijah Craig rye and Wild Turkey 101 rye.
This is not Pursuits and Purchases.
Calm down, everyone.
This is not Pursuits and Purchases.
TJ, get this under control. Ben's derailing us.
Yeah. Order in the court. You ever seen the Three Stooges disorder in the court?
Oh God, you're both derailing us. I'm supposed to be the derailing one. What's happening right now?
The rye is really good. Like it jumps up. We're gonna rate them here. Have you guys heard of Derek Fisher? We're gonna rate these in just a little while, but the rye jumps ahead of the regular for me immediately.
Oh, right? Easily, like not even
close. The regular's not bad. Like I don't, it's just your average classic bourbon, classed up a little bit. I believe Wise Man once said, but the rye is very, very good. I'm gonna take one more sip before we go on to the next one. What's after the rye, Brendan?
Ooh, I'm going to go with. I'm gonna ruin everyone's night right now. The malt.
Oh, no.
Oh man, the malt. So I got the full bottle of the malt a year ago because I thought it was really interesting. You don't see a lot of American. You do single malts, but TJ's got it too.
I got Brendan. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Have you made more progress on a malt in the past year or the rye in the past week?
Oh,
exactly.
I mean,
is that
exactly.
Is that a liter or is that a 750 as well?
That's 750. This is 0.75 or 0.35 or 3.75. Jesus.
Ben, tell us about the malt again.
Malt. It's a malted whiskey. It's malted barley forward with like just over 50% malt.
And then a lot of corn, right? Isn't it like 47% corn? So it's only like 2% rye. It's really weird. It's a really weird mash bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super. So what that ends up doing is making it pretty funky. So let's dive into this.
It's funky. I would agree.
It's funky. The nose is weird. What does it smell like, TJ? It smells. It's
like a barn.
Funky.
It smells like a barn. It smells like a horse feed.
Definitely,
yes.
Definitely
Yeah.
Like not a bad. Not like poop. Not like manure. No. But like
like when you pull up when you go to like a barn like.
And you smell that. You know why it is? Because they feed, so I used to work at a feed store. They like the animal. This is essentially what they feed the animals without the alcohol. Like the malted, the barley, and that's
But
Like it's animal pelletized feed is what it smells like to me.
so it's got that, and it's not unpleasant. It's just weird, as unappetizing as TJ made that sound. It's not bad, but he is correct. It smells just like you go to like a petting zoo, like at a fair or something. It smells like that area of it. But also like a little chocolatey note too, so a little sweetness in addition to the weird farm quality of this. The taste, though, to me, not quite as. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. Not quite as dramatic, not quite as strange. Still different, but the nose hits me as more of an oddity than this taste. The taste tastes just more like a craft bourbon, basically.
See, I think the taste goes right along with the nose. Like everything I get off the nose, I get coming through on the taste as well. I get that funkiness on the back end. It's not bad by any means, but it is definitely funky. Like it's not unpleasant. Like I'm not grossed out by it. But yeah, like it's not great.
It's just not something I would reach for. As I've had this bottle for a year.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not bad. It's just not something like you have to be really in the mood for it. And I just don't know when you're ever going to be in the mood for animal feed.
To me, when I have people over and they've never tried something like this, I pour a little bit so they can
just so you get rid of it. That's the only reason you're pouring.
That and so that I keep them from buying a bottle of it without trying things first. Like it's the funkiest bottle that I have of anything, right? That malt whiskey is just wild. It tastes like, so we talked about craft beer and stuff. Like if you're into craft beer and you like have some of those wild farm ales, those saisons and stuff, they're their own category and they're the biggest category because like an IPA is mostly like hops, right? A stout is going to be mostly malted barley. Like, it's just the other side. But those saison, like this is a saison. Like this is wild and crazy and farmhousey and Ben, what do you think? Would you ever drink this? Like,
no.
He definitely wouldn't buy a full bottle of it like we did, TJ.
This is not for me.
So why did you buy your bottle? Just to try something new? I'll tell you my story here.
Try something new, and also this is going to sound so stupid. I thought the blue on it looked cooler than the red and the green than the wheat and the rye. The blue got me too. But also I will say I really like American whiskeys, like single malt whiskeys. I got a straight malt from Spirit Hound in Colorado. I got one from Alabama that's really good. So I like them. They're a little funkier, a little different. I typically like Stranahan's is another one from Colorado that I really like American whiskey. So that's another reason why I went for the maltiness of it. It didn't land for me. What about you, TJ? Why did you get suckered into this this horse feed?
I was going to an event where I didn't have to pay for the liquor. Like I was using a company card. And I was like, I'll try this. Yeah. It's something new. Well, I had a budget that I had to stay within. Like I couldn't just be like, I'll take, that Angel's Envy finished cast drink, so I was like, that sounds different. Like that sounds good. I have the double oak, so I'll try this. It was early in the bourbon experience. So bought it, took it to the event. Not very much got drank. The event ended and they said, you can just take that home with you if you want. And I was like,
I don't want it.
I didn't try it there. Like I was working the event. Like I wasn't, and I was like, cool. Like I got a whole bottle basically. So anyway, I came home and I'm like, that's why I was able to take that out. So anyway, I should have gone with something else. All right. Where are we going next? Wheat or double oaked?
Let's go wheat. Let's say the double oak for last because it's the most expensive. I did go back to the Woodford Reserve just to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit as much as I could after that funky malt. I don't want to interfere with the wheat here.
Water crackers.
Oh, good idea. I was looking. We have saltine crackers that I like to have in between our recordings because it doesn't really mess up the palate. We are out of saltine crackers, so someone's got an empty tum-tum.
That's definitely the title. The title is Someone's Got an Empty Tum-Tum. Ben, talk to us about this wheated bourbon or wheated whiskey. It's not a bourbon, is it?
It's a wheated whiskey. So you can have wheated bourbons, which where they add wheat to the at least 51% corn. So this is a wheated whiskey. So this is a wheat whiskey, 4 grain, and it drinks pretty good. I'm enjoying this better than I thought because I usually shy away from wheated bourbons, and so the thought of just having a lot more of wheat was a little off-putting, but this is enjoyable. I would say this is right now This is 2. This is 2 on my out of my 4, right? This beats out. It's a little more adventurous than the regular Woodford. Not as good as the rye. Definitely better than the malted, but you know,
I'm
no
right there
surprise.
with you. I'm right there with you.
Right now, it's a little more fun to drink. I'll take it. But again, I think it's the harder one to find.
It's not super hard to find though. Like I found at most places that
ABC, like right now.
You can.
I mean, that's where I got it from. Like
it
2 weeks
is
ago.
accessible. Like you can go and find it probably after like 3 or 4 stores typically. And
Okay.
like
I didn't know if it was like a 1792 sweet wheat kind of fun.
No, it's not quite to that extent.
Okay.
You can find it if you do a little bit of looking. It may not be as it's not obviously going to be like the Woodford, man, where it's going to be in every single store,
right?
Or the rye's going to be in most stores, but it's going to be more in the single malt one too, where like those are going to be in like kind of maybe every other.
What I'll say is, I know it's a lot to ask somebody to go out and spend, you know, what 4 different bottles here that are $30 each, and then your double oak's going to be, even if you went and got the small one, that's like $27. So you're asking somebody to spend $150, which is a lot. So I'm not asking anybody to go do it. But if you have a couple of buddies, not the worst idea to have everybody go out and grab one of these bottles if you had 4 or 5 buddies, because it is neat getting to go back and forth, and you kind of get the same flavor profiles, but you get more spice in the rye, you get the funk in the malt, which again, sorry to the guy that has to buy the malt. But, you know, the wheat is really, really good. One characteristic we talked about with wheated stuff or stuff that's got a high wheat in the mash bill is it almost takes on that pancake, that weedy, bready flavor. And so the sweetness from the corn almost gives you the syrup. And I don't know, every time Ben said it one time when we were drinking Maker's Cask Strength at his house, but anything wheated kind of gives me like the pancake vibe. And I get that off this. I get the sweetness. I get the breadiness. It's like a sweet. And if you don't like the pancake, you know, comparison here, like just a sweet bread, you know, would maybe be a way to put that if you're not getting the syrup on it. But man, that sweet, bready, weedy flavor is really, really good on this. I think I like the rye more, but I'm telling you, if we just did these 2 and put them head to head, like this wheat's really good, really easy to drink.
Yeah.
Very inviting, draws me back for more. I don't have.
It's at a disadvantage though, isn't it? Like that it's behind the malt and the rye. Like I feel like our palates are kind of getting blown a little bit too. The fact that it goes right after the malt doesn't help it.
I think it's an advantage that we went after the malt. Like
maybe
come off of that to something that's palatable. I mean, whatever. But
I will be transparent. I did try to stack the deck a little bit when you guys had me pick. I went malt because I knew that we would think it was weird, and
that's your specialty.
It's true. I want awkward and weird. I want to make sure that we gave the wheat as fair of a chance as possible, given that it wasn't first up in the lineup. I like the wheat a lot. I'm with you, Ben. This is number 2 for me. In addition to that nice pancakey vibe that TJ's alluding to, which I certainly get, a fruity, like jammy kind of quality, like a strawberry jam, raspberry jam, but like a red jam. And we just had jasmine bloom for the first time of the spring outside our house today. So I get this like floral, my mind wants to say jasmine, but like honeysuckle. It's like this sweet floral note. This is really good. Yeah. I wish if this was like 50%, if this was 100 proof or a little bit more, I think this would be an absolute banger. It's good. It's really good. I think it could be great if it was a little bit higher proof, but I like it a lot.
You should just proof it up a little bit. Just distill it a little bit and remove it, or
I just put it in
water out of it.
Well, there is Woodford does have their they have like a full proof one they release every year sometimes, but I think that would cut it a little bit. This is good though.
Easy to find, yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to the final one that we've talked about, Woodford Double Oaked.
The nose is so much. I'm sorry, the nose is so much different.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow. 90.4 proof as well. Again, the only thing different between this and the regular is the time that it's spent in a second barrel, right? A little bit different.
Yeah, and a weirder barrel, like toasted insteed of heavily charred.
Heavily toasted and then charred.
And TJ's a toasty fan too, right?
Like big Fiesta.
Big toast fan. Although I don't get the toastiness on this as much as I just get like the straight sugar bomb. So
I get a lot of sugar. A lot of sugar. I get raisins, like dark, like the dark fruit. Yeah.
Chocolate.
Yeah. If in my
milk chocolate.
Yeah. I would probably say like raisinettes in a glass is probably the way my approach here.
In a glass, TJ. Ben took it, not you.
In a glass, baby. Get out of here.
How do I kick somebody out of my own chat? No, but Ben doesn't like this. Ben doesn't like double oak. It's a little too sweet for him.
It's really sweet.
I don't know that it's like. I don't know that it's a dislike, right? But it's definitely like, or is it a dislike? I think it's just not a preference. It's not.
I respect.
Off-putting.
Yeah, it's not off-putting. I respect the game on this one. It's just like I'm not. So with Brown Foreman, right? You're either a 1910 or 1920 person. I'm 1920. 1910 is a great bottle. It's just I like the 20 because it's a little spicier and has a little more robust, kick to it.
It's better.
This is the 1910 of the double oaked, double oak bottle. And there's nothing like this is highly recommended for people who want like as little burn as possible. If you have it's like they love like if you have a drinker that just wants sweetness, this is great for them. This is like all sugar.
It's expensive, but it's a good entry level. Like if you can, you're going straight into just enjoying the bourbon, right? Like this was one of the first four we've talked about. If you go back and listen to the introduction episode, Ben brought this over when he came over to my house, and I was trying bourbon, kind of tasting and sipping for the first time. And it was very easy to drink, very approachable, very sweet. After having those four bourbons were High West, American Prairie, Buffalo Trace. I forget what the third one was, but the fourth one was the Woodford Reserve double oaked, and so. Yeah, super sweet, super approachable, super easy to drink. Maybe a good, like I said, an entry level one. It's expensive, but a good entry level one.
I have a perfect this is to me is a perfect, to TJ's point, a perfect gift bourbon. I got it for my dad. So someone like my dad is fairly new into bourbon. He likes like Manhattans or old fashions. Just started drinking it in the past year. Started getting into like drinking it neat. And to me, like this was a perfect, like, okay, you like Buffalo Trace, you like Basil Hayden's. Well, let's take it up a notch a little bit. This is it. My friend had his brother-in-law over. His brother-in-law liked bourbon a lot. My friend kind of into it, more of a beer guy, but can deal with alcohol burn. I said, get Woodford Double Oak. You both will enjoy it. I feel like this is one that's just going to be good for, like, I think everyone's going to be able to at least appreciate it. You may not love it, like Ben doesn't love it, but you could at least find like this is nice, this is pleasant, this is pretty. To TJ's point, like it's $55, so it's not you have to get it for someone who likes bourbon, but if someone likes bourbon, they're almost going to not dislike this, if that makes sense. This is safe.
I can't agree more. This is a great gift bourbon. There's no one that you're going to give us to, even a beginner, that's going to be like, oh, this is terrible. Because it's going to be sweet enough for someone to get into it, but also respectable enough by anyone who currently drinks bourbon. So great gift bourbon if you want to spend the $60.
Yeah, I think. Where do you rank it, Ben? Like, Brendan and I will go in just a second, but where do you rank it?
I'd probably put it 2. I think it's probably above wheat for me, just because there's extra time and effort into the bottle. But the rye is great. Rye is just great for me, but
I'm doing an elimination process, so this is malt, gone, right?
Yeah.
And then the Woodford Reserve, solid, fine, but not as interesting as these other 3.
Sure.
Okay. So these are the final 3 for all 3 of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the same page?
Yes.
Yeah, Ben, I think going the wheat's good, but I'm with you that the Woodford Double Oaked is more interesting than the wheat. So that leaves rye and double oak for me. These are the final 2. Rye here.
Yeah, I think I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I think I'm going rye 1. Well, let me try them one more time.
Really? That's crazy to me.
Let me try it.
The amount you like toast and sweet.
Well, I don't get a lot of. Do you get the toast off this?
Way more. Yeah.
Way more than any of the other things, but not as much as like some of the other toasted finishes that we have.
So think about going from anything regular, so regular Old Forester to toasted. It's the same mash bill. You're just rebarreling it. So
are we open to a 1A, 1B type of conversation? And if so, then do we start factoring in price?
Not at all. All right. Not freaking at all. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, there's one is almost twice as much as the other one. And for me, like this rye that I got, I'm pointing to the bottle that I have. Again, $12 for the 0.375. If I get 2 of them, that's $24 for a full-size bottle.
I mean, it'd be hard to beat that.
But damn,
excluding value though.
It is amazing that the double oaked is okay, excluding value.
Right.
It is
like, what are you gonna grab?
It is amazing to me that the double oaked is just what would we say, Ben? 9 months extra aging?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
9 months in like a heavy toasted, slight charred barrel.
That's crazy. Like that's like not a huge amount of time for a bourbon. So like the Woodford Reserve is 6 to 7 months. So you're just like a little bit longer, and it's giving it that level of complexity.
Woodford 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And they barrel finish for 9 months, which I think barrel finishing is usually like months. It's not like.
But it's just a different barrel. That's like it's not like a. Did I say months? I'm sorry. So I meant 6 to 7 years for Woodford, and then 9 months into the toasted. Yeah. But it's not like a wine barrel or something crazy flavor profile.
Right.
It's just
extra toasty.
Mega toast. This is tough. I'm struggling. I'm gonna bow out for a second and kind of try to go over them. TJ, you've been sampling them. Do you have a winner?
So everybody knows here that I am very partial to toasted finish things. You can see the mixtures behind me. I like the Elijah Craig toasted finish. I don't get the toast on this as much as I just get like a pure sweetness. And I like it. It's easy to drink. It's very approachable. To me, I wouldn't have a 1A and a 1B. I'd have a 1 and a 2A and a 2B.
Oh my God.
This is why we're not doing A's and B's. You just put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I got the rye as 1. Ooh. And I've got the wheat and the double oaked as like my 2A and 2B.
Oh, wow.
And I don't really know. I really like the wheat. The double oaked is good, super approachable, super easy to drink.
Yeah.
I don't get the toast on it. And if I think about value at all, the fact that I'm spending twice as much for it is a little off-putting, not great. The fact that I was able to get the liter for $61, still paying like 50% more for it, but a better price, no doubt. But I think the rye wins out on it. I think I'm going rye 1, wheat 2, double oak 3, regular 4, and then malt 17. So I really like the wheat, and that probably gets my second. I think to me, controversial take here, the wheat might be closer to the rye than the double is to the wheat. Now that I'm saying that, like I might actually be coming off my 1B and 2B and all this other stuff. Like that wheat is really good, but
Ben,
anyway, the double oak's good too.
Maybe a 3A and a 3C and a 3B. Maybe we should do that.
Well, so that does make
instead of a 1 through 5, how about a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1B, and 1A?
Everyone gets a trophy. That's cool. Yeah. I like
2021, baby.
It's clear the rye, baby. We are now rye on a budget.
All right. Oh my God. Heel turn. Ben, so what was your order, Ben?
Rye on responsible income.
Yeah. I'm rye first. I'm going rye, double, wheat. Gosh, I guess regular.
But it's a distant 4th and 5th, right?
Yeah.
It has a drop off.
Yeah. I mean, the regular there is a vast difference between the regular Woodford and the double oaked. And so, I mean, regular's down at 4, and then malt's 5. Malt doesn't do much for me. So that's my order.
All right. You guys want mine?
No.
Not really, but go ahead.
Don't really care.
No, it's okay. Keep going. All right. So, double oaked rye.
Oh.
What did we do? It was a week ago. We did kind of here's the introduction to rye. And I want to say Ben did something really cool afterwards. He sommeliered me. Is that right? You sommelier me. After we did the High West, which is super high rye, that's like what 95 and 80% blend of rye.
Yeah.
So Ben said, "Hey, why don't you go?" TJ had brought up a little single sample of the rare breed Wild Turkey rare breed rye, which Ben loves. We've documented this on the show.
What's up?
He told me to try it, and he said, "Now try to pick apart some of the flavors. Think about vanilla." And I got vanilla on it, but with that rye spice too. And I was like, okay. So since then, I've kind of started to try some ryes because I saw that there was an interesting element of whiskey that I wasn't really getting myself into. I say all this to say I've tried some ryes. I was a fan of the Woodford rye. Now, after trying it with the other 4 in the lineup, I have to say Woodford rye is number 1 for me. This is it. I'm a rye guy
Let's
now.
go.
I think we've been converted 100%. I am a rye guy now. This is really good.
Brian Dine. Brian.
Bry guy. That
Bry guy.
It was right there for you in the lineup, and you just lined it.
Oh, goodness. So is your lineup the same though? Rye, then double oak, then wheat.
And wheat. Yep. And those are those. And I think you can make the argument for any of them. Like I think anyone can make a reasonable argument for any of those to be number 1 in that lineup. With the other 2, that's pretty distant. But to me, the rye was just a little bit more complex. It was pretty interesting. So
we're gonna get a lot of feedback on the fact that we put rye above double oak. Just like you know.
I would say people try the Woodford rye because I feel like that's not a. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that's not like a super. When people talk about rye, they don't talk about the Woodford rye very often. I would say
we need to do this against the Pikesville, Old Forester rye, which
Pikesville is super. I don't love. I haven't had a lot of experience in rye. Pikesville is one that I really like a lot. That's Heaven Hill's version of a.
We'll do a rye right there.
Yeah. Okay, that's really super good and chocolatey and delicious, and it's expensive though too, but it's really good.
Yeah. So. What I've done now that we've ranked ours, I've made a mix like Brendan did. This isn't an even mix, but I did suicide the end of these. I'm not drinking all this tonight. There's no way. Like after the Mint Juleps,
do it.
I want to get up tomorrow morning and
that's literally all malt. It's all malt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably should just left the malt out of it, but
it's Brendan, delightful, isn't it, TJ? This is really good. Or no? No. Mine's pretty even of 50. Well, I was going to say 50-50. It's what's 5 divided by 20? 20.
Okay, so the malt comes through, but it's a lot more tame because there's a lot of other stuff. Okay, that's wild because like now I'm getting the rye.
Yeah, the sweetness from the double. Yeah.
It's all over the place.
It's like a good bourbon to me. It's like honestly, it's like brown sugar and cherry, and
it's sweet and spicy and funky and got a bit of the wheat. So anyway, kind of crazy. We're going to wrap up with this. Let's get into some really quick pursuits and purchases, register, trademark, copyright, all those things, patent pending. I always forget that one. Brendan, you got anything for us this week on pursuits and purchases?
All right. I have purchased 2. One, if I don't mention certain words on a podcast, another podcast I do, I don't even want to mention on this one. I don't want it to be any crossover. I'm going to get this one paid for. It is, I told you I'm turning into a bit of a rye guy. This is Barrel, so the Barrel bourbon that does all the blending. They have a seagrass rye, basically. So I'm going to read this to you guys. So I got it on a website. It was at a decent deal, no shipping cost. So it was like $80. So it was a little expensive. I'm going to get this basically paid for if I don't mention these words for the remainder of the month. So I'm not going to mention them now. It is a blend of rye whiskeys distilled in Canada and Kentucky, which are finished separately in 3 casks. Martinique rum, RHUM.
Martinique, yeah.
Martinique rum. Is that just like a rum? Is that a rum? Is that rum like the same kind of like?
It's a place.
But rum, the RHUM, is that a rum? Okay, just spelled differently.
C.
Malmsey Madeira, which is a wine. And apricot brandy. So it's finished in 3 different casks. It's bottled at cask strength at 118 proof. It was just released in March. The reviews on it so far early on here on Distiller are exquisite. It's like a 4.4 out of 5. It's considered really top-notch stuff. So I get that later this week. And I also was at Costco this past weekend, and I got Alberta cask strength rye. So again, I'm really diving into the ryes here. It is a Canadian rye. It's 100% rye mash bill, and it is, I think, 66 proof. I tried it over the weekend, guys. It had like that vanilla-y Canadian vibe to it, but that proof and the rye mash bill gave it a little bit of complexity. I will send that to you guys in a little care package coming up. Oh, no, I can't mail it because that's illegal. TJ, I will drive it down to you sometime soon.
It's 100% rye.
Yep, 100% rye mash bill. At, again, 66 proof. No, 66%.
Ben's going to take us home, but I'm going to tell you guys about mine first, and then I'll let Ben wrap us up.
Yeah.
I was in preparation for this show, I went to ABC, and they were running a special. These bottles are $30 each, but I picked up the regular Woodford Reserve and the wheated Woodford Reserve, or the Kentucky Straight Wheat Whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
They were $30 each, which would come out to $60. However, they were on sale for $3 off each. And so what I was going to do is I was going to get a big wheated and a small Woodford Reserve, which was going to come out to the small one was 17, plus that would have been $47. So for like $5 more, I got both because they were $6 off. And I also got this Woodford Reserve glass because it came in a collector set. So my pursuit and purchases was wheeling and dealing at ABC. I walked out of there like I had just, scored the Mona Lisa for like $20. Meanwhile, I got like $6 off and felt amazing for it. But really enjoyed getting both of those. And that's all I've got. I've got some pursuits. I may pick up some stuff later this week. Got some exciting stuff coming down the pike, but I don't want to jinx anything. So I might be picking up some cool stuff this week, but I'll leave that going. Ben's got a fun one for us this week, though. Ben, where were you and what did you pick up?
So we spent the week up in North Carolina. My wife's uncle has a cabin up there, so we were kind of just hanging out. And it was an opportunity to go and explore some local liquor stores that I don't usually go to, and that had stuff that I don't really have access to either. So I was able to pick up, me being the rye person that I am, I got an Elijah Craig rye. I got 2 Wild Turkey 101s ryes, because we don't have those down in Florida yet. But also some stuff that's harder to find in Florida that I wasn't able to usually grab was pretty available up there. So a Kinder McKenna 10-year bottle and bond. I've got 2 bottles of that because it was on the shelf. So might as well grab a couple while you're in the area. I got a Wilderness Trail wheated bourbon. That was good. That has gotten a little more distributed down to our area now. So that was a good pickup. And then the 2 big ones that I got for the trip was one was an Elijah Craig barrel proof, which was just literally sitting on the shelf. And I went back and forth with it for like 3 days and went back in 3 days later, and it was still just sitting there. And I was like, oh, that's never going to happen in Florida. And then I got a Blood Oath Pack 7 that when I walked to the store, there was me. If you ever pull into a liquor store and there's another guy that's also going to go into the liquor store, you're trying to racing him to the door. He beat me in and grabbed one of the Blood Oath Pack 7s, and luckily there was another one behind it. So I grabbed that one just because, I had to. So maybe we'll see some reviews coming up on that. Maybe we won't. We'll see. So pretty excited about those pickups.
Successful trip to North Carolina, which Brendan just put in the chat is a state-run liquor state. I did it again.
It's controlled, but it was controlled for me nicely. So,
so you control.
That means that the pricing is usually not going to be super jacked up, right? That's the pro of a state run.
Right. So when you walked in there and I was looking at those Elijah Craig barrel proofs, which are usually marked up above MSRP, that was like $70, $75 out the door. So it was nice.
MSRP-ish. Yeah. Close to it.
Yeah. Close, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So a successful week for all of us on pursuits and purchases. I saved $6. Ben got a whole bunch of allocated stuff that you can't get in Florida, and Brendan is getting some free stuff from not saying certain words on certain podcasts, or all the podcasts, I guess. So
we'll see.
What are we reviewing this week on Thursday, guys?
This week, we are taking a look at Woodford Reserve, the OG, the original gangster, right? Woo! Straightforward. The Kentucky Derby Special, Woodford Reserve.
Because they pay the most money to.
Because they pay the most money to, not us though, just to someone else. But
if you'd like to, we'll drink. I'll drink a mint julep every week for the rest of the year.
If that malt. Oh my God, it's my favorite whiskey.
I will. Brendan and I. Well, not Brendan and I. Brendan will chug that malt on camera if Woodford.
Just Brendan.
Yeah, that's all.
Right.
Just Brendan.
Yeah.
All right. Again, follow us on social media. Give us a thumbs up here if you're watching on YouTube and you've made it through this hour-long episode. Subscribe, share with a friend. We appreciate all of those things. If you could interact with us on social media, again, Ben's the most fun person on social media, even though he doesn't know how to work any of it. We have a great time on there. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for putting up with us this week, and we will see you next week. See you on Thursday for our review before then, but it's been Bourbon on a Budget. Hey, guys, I think we have a guest next week for next week's episode, but we'll talk about that off air.
Spoiler.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, that's what they call a teaser in the biz. That's what the kids are calling
tease
these
ya.
days. Okay. Cheers, everybody. See ya.
Cheers.
Cheers.